Hi everyone, virtual hug. Thanks for sticking with YDAN again in 2012. Today's topic, as you may already know, is airline travel, and this stems from the court case of Sheila King against Jetstar. Sheila King is a 78-year-old lady who suffered from polio as a child and also has some crushed vertebrae from a car accident. She booked a domestic Australian flight online with Jetstar, and the next day was rung up and told that Jetstar have a maximum 2 wheelchair policy and she would be the third wheelchair, so she wouldn't be allowed to take that flight. At first, when I heard this, I was really frustrated, and I tried to think of all the reasons Jetstar could have for what I thought was a simple case of discrimination. I have never flown a low-budget airline before, so I thought that maybe the policy had something to do with the luggage capacity of the aircraft, in which case, while I'm frustrated at the policy, I could understand that obviously they need to hold the passenger's safety in the utmost regard. However, I then started looking up the case in more detail and read an article by Disability Discrimination Commissioner Graham Innes on Ramp Up. Graham Innes's view is that this situation is a clear case of discrimination, and that if it had happened to a mother and a baby, for example, there would be an outrage, but because it happened to somebody with a disability, there wasn't. He believes that the reason this happened has nothing to do with the safety of other passengers or the luggage capacity of the aircraft, but rather the fact that the DDA, which is the Disability Discrimination Act, doesn't regulate aircrafts and accessibility for aircrafts as well as it does buses or trains. And so his suggestion is that we go back and look at how we can make airplanes more accessible for people with disability. What may surprise people is that the court actually found that Sheila had been discriminated against, but that the airline were right to discriminate against her because it would have caused Jetstar unjustifiable hardship to allow her onto the plane. One of Jetstar's arguments for having a 2 wheelchair policy was that it decreases the turnaround time. Now, this is something that I don't understand because according to the Disability Directory, Jetstar have delays on their flights 23.8% of the time, and Jetstar quoted that 3% of this was due to delays from helping people in wheelchairs, and even that is a very unreliable and murky number. And also the argument of why doesn't she just use a different airline is quite unfair because not everybody is in a financial situation where they're able to use another airline. The other thing Jetstar said, which was kind of contradictory, is that 90% of the time they don't have a problem with wheelchairs, which makes me agree with a lot of people on forums and things who have said, well, if it's that small of a problem, then why not get rid of the policy? I believe Jetstar are unfairly targeting a specific group of people, namely those in wheelchairs, and suggesting that just because of the wheelchair, the passengers will take up more time. And yes, the majority of people in wheelchairs might need extra assistance or extra time to transfer or things like that. But you can't make that assumption that just because people are in wheelchairs that they will take up extra time. There are lots of groups of people, for example, mothers and babies or business people or people travelling in groups that will take up just as much, if not more time. When I've gone travelling, for example, most of the assistance that I have, for example, transferring into the aeroplane aisle wheelchair from my own, are done before the plane even is at the gate and people are ready to board. There's a lot of people on forums and a lot of people coming to Jetstar's defence. In the process, they're dismissing Sheila as a whinger and a grumbler and an elderly old lady with an agenda. And I think sometimes what people don't understand is this situation could happen to a lot of people. But Sheila is just the one that had the strength and the courage to get the media involved and say this is not good enough. Jetstar also said that they would have an increased cost if they were to allow more than 2 wheelchairs on any flight. But what they failed to understand was that by having Sheila King take another flight with another airline, she was out of pocket as well by $40. I don't fully understand the defense of, oh, it's a safety issue, because every time I've flown, people in wheelchairs or people who need extra assistance are first on the plane and last off the plane. In my experience, nobody who's needed any extra help has ever held anybody up. So thank you for listening and thank you for your support of White Dan once again. Feel free to leave your comments below, follow us, subscribe, tell your friends, all that social media stuff. And we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.